14 times in the most recent time period of the past 3 months, whereas for SSG, it's much, much less, and more so their opponents banning it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Their opponents have banned it out 6 times, but they've won it 3 times in recent history as well with 0 losses, so SSG more than likely feeling confident walking into this. But we're going to enter the ban phase now, folks, between FURIA and SSG. Let's see what they want to do with Cafe.SSG.
Should be a very fun matchup considering the play styles of these two teams. We really get the best out of both of these teams. But the first ban going to be exactly what we've expected out of all the bans so far in this tournament here. Thatcher getting knocked out. I think we've only had about 3 or 4 matchups where he hasn't been banned, so probably still sitting right at the top of our attacker ban list as he has been for quite some time now. Second attacker ban going to be an interesting one, but makes sense considering the relevance that Ying has recently brought to this map. So knocking her out definitely going to remove quite a bit of that execute utility from the SSG and FURIA side of things.
A lot of squads really liking the Ying at this LAN, and you can't blame them. Like John's saying, really solid execute utility, and those Candelas as consistent as ever with the recent buffs. But either way, secondary bans coming in now. First offensive ban going to be one that we haven't seen in quite some time, but still a very strong one in the likes of Maestro.
Obviously, a pretty mainstay for especially operators that need to be placed in a locked-in position in the back of the site. They're not going to be very mobile and whatnot, and then it can obviously help out a little bit on cam duty in the middle of the round by looking into those evil eyes. A very useful operator, not even talking about the proficiency of his gun as well, so still a very good ban just on a baseline perspective. Mira, very much the same thing, pretty much universally useful, so get her out of here.
Yeah, that Maestro ban, I think, getting a little bit more traction as well here, simply because it is a ban up against SSG, and this is somebody that we see Fultz use really often. He can just be a defensive turret and just melt a couple of people with that Alda, so probably a good idea to take that away. We'll have to see what they want to trade that out with, and so far it looks like it's going to be the Echo, but this lineup overall for SSG looking very positive for Kitchen.
All right, so it's going to be the downstairs start here. This is the usual go-to site for SSG, so no deviation from the normal expectation. Interesting from FURIA. We did see this brought out by the team yesterday as well, but a 6-pick towards a blitz is going to make things interesting right from the get-go here. 6-pick also on the defensive side is Goyo will be swamped out for Wamai.
Hopefully this blitz works out a lot better than with that blitz that we saw yesterday.
Yeah.
As Poge got lit up almost immediately. It was down like 1 HP and legitimately couldn't play the rest of the round. He was put on life support, and that was really all he could achieve. So here's hoping that we see something a little bit better out of this FURIA offensive lineup. But across the board, I mean, they've got plenty of utility to handle all of this, especially with the sledge here. I mean, if they go for the full clear and actually start to try and abuse that verticality, I mean, this setup is super, super solid overall.
So for the SSG roster, not going to be too many surprises when it comes to the overall setup they'll be bringing us here. But still, should expect quite efficient hold coming out from them, regardless of the fact that we see this being held quite often. A little bit of an aggressive hold maybe going on in the inside of Bakery too. I am curious to see the speed with which FURIA may try to deploy themselves here, considering that the blitz isn't picked. That usually leads us to believe there's going to be a much more aggressive play right off the bat, but no combined spawn for FURIA, so probably going to be a little bit slower of a lead up than I was expecting.
Well, with highs in here as Flores, this actually presents us something pretty cool that could happen with Bakery. Obviously with these explosive drones, it's going to make their life pretty easy. Rare trying for the RNG shot here with the pistol at range, but nothing going to land onto these SSG members. But FURIA very quick with the utility usage here, beginning to break down shields and break down barriers, making it a little bit more difficult for SSG to exist in this area. But it's hot and cold as the first contact, as will I.
Hot and Cold going to continue to maintain that position. Not nearly enough utility pressure to force him off. You'll note those 2 ADSs sitting on the ground there, as well as probably a couple other pieces of utility to support him in this specific situation. But that Bakery counter going to be enough by itself. It's enough as well to completely push FURIA away from that play. They think and realize that there's going to be way too much time needed to clear that player out. So they're going to go back to the usual vertical top-down clear instead, already sending Rare down through the red hatch.
There's still a couple of things that they want to try and abuse around the map. You can see they haven't used any of High's drones at all, so that was definitely not the game plan, even though they could have tried to push it farther. But now they're trying to find some picks around the map, and it's mostly Fultz on the roam right now. Some on the mid-level, but now has some support here around VIP. He'll simply be rocking the M590 on white stairs. These staircase fights, so very easy for the SAS operators, and that's why he'll be prioritizing this for right now. Doesn't want FURIA to be able to jump too far ahead here, but obviously could have some issues here with the blitz if pressured properly.
Blitz so far is great for clears here. None of the SSG members really going to be able to take that on in an individual 1v1, especially with that blitz being supported usually by Zofia or another member of the FURIA roster close behind. Fultz, though, getting aggressive. This was a problem for FURIA in the Navi matchup, was this unweighted aggression from the defenders being unleashed upon them and them just not really expecting it. And Fultz, given full access to the white stair, is going to go all the way up on top and probably just sit here waiting for the aggressive play from FURIA where he'll finally be able to strike and make some impact against these attackers.
This is super unfortunate unfortunate. With the way that Cafe usually plays out, it takes a lot of droning to clear out these floors, and Miracle's been on his drone for the last minute here and did not get that last air jab down on White. He still has one inside of his pocket, and that's exactly what allows Fultz to slip through their fingers and more than likely cause some major damage. But now it's Hotancold under fire, down to 1 HP here. Fntzy just simply sending shots down range with the LMG of Zofia. Doesn't need that AR in the slightest, but he does need some assistance from Rare. Rare does get lit up, but it's just down to below 50 HP. Fultz, oh no, ends up spraying wide. He'll give up his position, but still hold on to red stairs going in the last 20 seconds.
Fultz patiently waiting this one out. He knows it's going to be a massive distraction for FURIA as they need to try and go for their execute now here. And unfortunately, they're not going to be at full strength as a result of that. They have to leave someone back on flank watch, but it doesn't really matter. High's clearing out most of the interior defenses here. Bosco, the last bastion of that defense between him and Fultz here. Can they deny the plan is the big question. Here comes Fultz in the meanwhile, diving down to rescue the round with only 2 seconds left. They might be getting it done, but hold on here. It's not over yet, but thankfully it's played out safe by the last SSG member, and they take it on the timer.
Kickstar and I were just talking about this a little bit ago. The SAS Operator kit is one of the most potent kits in the entire game when it comes to the defense, and that's exactly why. That SMG-11 with an amazing DPS, as well as the M590 able to back anything up in a close engagement. You can just see how well Fultz and Bosco are able to use these kits to their advantage, really apply that pressure to FURIA, and make it to where they can't get the plant down like they want to. FURIA ends up getting split up with that top player still upstairs waiting for the plant to go down, but just simply could not assist the last remaining FURIA member inside of Kitchen.
So let's see here now. FURIA gets off to a seemingly good start on their attacks. Ultimately, though, not with enough attacking power to actually work their way in. And that flank in the final moments from SSG causing so much of a distraction and so much delay, so much hesitation on the FURIA attack. They're not able to get themselves in quickly enough and take out that final SSG member. So the defense strides forward, takes control of that first floor defense, and now moves upstairs here. And as well, now available in the Rainbow Six store. You can see we've got all of the new Rainbow Six share skins, including FURIA's own skin for the R46C. Feel free to head in the store and check that out now. All purchases will support your favorite teams.
The R46C?
Whatever.
I'm just messing with you.
There's so many guns.
416C.
416. I think I like combined Jaeger and Ash's guns. Yeah, I think I like somehow combined the two.
You're just playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Polarization real quick.
I was trying to read the screen real quick, and yeah, it didn't go well. So
fantastic.
Sorry.
I will say this though, it is a really, really cool skin. I like the shiny metallic paint that they ended up putting on the 416 for FURIA's skin. But either way though, speaking of FURIA, they will be out and onto the field now, and real adjustments coming across here. Rare will be on to the Mav here, as well as IQ coming in for Fntzy, but not rocking the G8, sticking with the Commando, which is a pretty decent AR. Still one of the most damaging ARs in the game, just really doesn't have the rate of fire to back it up, so you got to be consistent.
So let's see here now for FURIA, as they've been out and about for a few seconds, what the initial bouts of control are going to lean them towards. Right now, it's that fairly standard roof take just to open up the hatches. We do have a couple other players that are going to be waiting out on Rappel, and apparently fragging on Rappel, as Miracle on his way up to the roof is going to be able to catch Hotancold, giving FURIA the opening advantage inside of the round here. The team has barely even started to establish those rappel positions in the meanwhile, so SSG will have to be careful now. Aggression is going to be very hard to throw out against these FURIA members, and that will make FURIA's opening clear here, especially towards areas like Cigar, a much easier task. They're still going to have some commitment, however, as we can see, one hiding in the Cigar closet will still stand in their way towards the red drop.
You can see the influence SSG have over this space as well, with the control from the laser gates and the castle barricades, but this is starting to become a routine thing around the Cigar area, so FURIA more than likely practiced in breaking this down. But that doesn't mean that SSG can't spoil the situation for them, even though seems like we are going to have some things on the move. Fultz, though, reading the situation so very well. He knows FURIA likes to continue spinning the map, especially with some of these entries, seeing if they can possibly get some picks, just like we saw previously with Hotancold. But now, damage starting to come in towards SSG. Rampy taking a lot of fodder, but not a lot of fire onto his actual person up until the grenade pours in. Lenda actually going to get refragged here from Fultz through the hatch, and he'll be able to back off as well.
Miracle was down due to the hole in the red hatch, and Nitro Cell chucked out. They're able to take that player into a down state, but thankfully, due to the additional pressure coming in for the other members on FURIA, they're able to take down that member on the SSG roster. They're Hotan getting knocked out, or excuse me, Rampy actually getting knocked out in that specific situation there, and allowing for the retrieval of Miracle to keep 3 players up and standing for FURIA. Still, though, they've only got this red hatch control, as you can see, nothing else beyond that yet, which is surprising considering how well this round started out with them with the initial pick against Hotancold. So very surprised they have not been able to push any further than that, but now the time is forcing it out of them regardless. Thinkingnade going to start to rotate back over those either red or white stairs positions position to begin crunching against the remnants of this FURIA attack.
And this is exactly what SSG needed. Fultz, one of the best LAN players when it comes to North America, currently 3-0-0. Doesn't need assistance, doesn't need to die, just needs to get these frags. And he's put FURIA into a tough spot here. He's going to continue to do so as well, to triple for him on the round, to make that 4 kills to his name as well. Rare and Highs, now the only remaining 2 players here for FURIA. Bosco and the rest of SSG continually holding things down. Nate will hold on to White Stairs as Rare tries to push forward, but there's a bullet cam there just to give up his exact location. Fultz with the flank here, not able to get it done, but that arm on Aruni instantaneously popping that castle barricade.
Nice.
Highs will at least be able to clear that up, but can he get this backup kill here? This needs to happen almost instantaneously, but an oversight as High
Power to successfully push their way in. At that point, SSG just has to play to their setup, run out the rest of the time, and as we see again, they're able to successfully do that, claiming themselves second round.
And for FURIA, difficult to try and fight back here, especially with how Fultz has been handling these rounds, specifically that last one. Obviously, the first one could have went a little better with his roam game, but some shots going wide with the SMG-11. It happens. But that round especially, Aroni doing so much damage, and his positioning especially catching FURIA off guard, and that's the biggest thing there. FURIA, as you guys have seen, continue to try and spin around the map and find these picks, but he's making sure to watch all of these staircases. Right there, Fntzy's just going for a simple crouch walk up brown stairs. It's something very common that happens. I mean, I do it all the time as well, and that's something that you're going to want to watch. If they get Pillars access, it's one overstep over that balcony, and you're going to end up dying. So very, very good idea to be watching that early on, and find Fntzy lacking.
Overall, just great timing on the aggressive pushes there from Fultz, catching multiple members of FURIA off guard, 3 in fact, over the course of that last round. Definitely was the saving grace for SSG, and a large part of the fragging power that allowed them to battle back after going down initially at the beginning of the round. Still going to be an emphasis on the third floor defense here from SSG, but don't make a mistake of thinking they're defending it again. It's obviously locked away. Now we're defending the second floor, but still needing to maintain that extended third floor control deep into this round to try and waste the time away from FURIA, not allow them to establish the top-down angles with their sledge or the rest of their soft breach, and successfully attack the site. And I don't know where that came from, but hot and cold.
Did he get it from the garage?
I'm going to guess white garage.
Big smile on Matt's face after that one. Miracle going to take a quick dirt nap, and that means no air jabs for FURIA either, so they're going to have to worry about these staircases the entire time.
This is
and with the way that Fultz is playing,
yep.
Oh man, that's so dangerous.
That was exactly what I'm going to make. We've seen it 2 times in a row already.
Neuralink.
SSG has been absolutely abusing these flanks and these staircases to the fullest extent that they are able to, and air jabs is going to be the best way to try and curtail that, as it would put an instant stop on any of that aggressive play potential from SSG. Now it's completely unlimited, as they have absolutely no way to stop it on the attacking side, save for leaving someone to watch them.
Well, Highs also wanting to get in some gunfights as well. You guys can see he switched off of Flores, and it doesn't mean that he can't be aggressive when he does play Flores, but the thing is that it requires a lot to get Flores to go. He has to sit still, drone forward, explode things, do that kind of stuff, and he also has to be cognizant of staying alive for his utility. With somebody like Ash, the breaching rounds, a little bit more straightforward. Hey, we want to get rid of his shield, we want to get rid of this, just burn it for me real quick, and then I'm going to go shoot people in the face. And that's exactly what his main game plan is right now, so we'll see if they'll be able to achieve that. He brought the Claymore as well, so they'll at least have some semblance of a flank watch going on. But you can see SSG already have their pick. They know how FURIA is going to act for the rest of this round, so they're just playing patiently to see what the next move is going to be. And what it seems like to me as of right now is a freezer push as Rare will pop a hole and simply see if he can possibly get something done with this. But the sad thing is he doesn't have a frag grenade, so he's going to have to wait for Lenda.
Rare continuing to hold this back now, waiting for the potential to push through. Surprisingly, that speaker hadn't been shot yet on the inside of Christmas. I was wondering what that
Are you telling me that you don't love Russian opera music?
I was just like, what is that music in the background? I thought somebody was like playing a speaker behind me, but no, someone actually didn't shoot that speaker for the first time in like 30 years. But it's probably been taken care of by now, and it's a small note anyway. FURIA still looking to make up for the deficit they have been facing ever since this round started, playing it ever so slowly so as not to make another mistake, not to overextend and lose another player. But that comes the consequence of a massive time sink. They're only just now fully clearing out the third floor, and I think that's largely because SSG has been satisfied with the amount of time that's been wasted up here more than anything else.
Yeah, that is in part of, they also have so much utility still for denial. 2 nitro cells in the back pockets of Hotancold and
Look at this, they're just impacting Lenda through the floor right
as
now.
Well, I mean, what else are you going to do with them? Nade's got 2 impacts in his pocket. You might as well deal some damage. You can see it's striking Lenda right in the heart. Oh no, some damage coming back onto Lenda. The second impact downs him. Thinkingnade with the Pokeball will be able to capture Lenda, but I don't know if they'll be able to actually confirm the frag. Hot and Cold taking some heat here, as Bosco will as well, but finally the kill starting to come through for Hot. Hotan. After that down earlier, though, still bleeding out on the floor. SSG finally gets some frags on deck, but with only 5 seconds remaining, they'll be able to get Lenda up, and it's Fntzy inside of the make it a 1v4 as he'll jump right down in the white stairwell, but it doesn't matter. Stay alive to keep those stats looking somewhat pretty, but SSG with 3.
Funny little play there from Rampy. Kind of lost the situation a bit as he tries to save his own life. But thankfully his teammates are absolutely on point. As once again, due to a lack of time and due to a lack of any aggressive capability in the early to mid round there, FURIA has nowhere near a satisfactory amount of control that they need to actually aggress onto that site in the final seconds. I can guarantee you they definitely didn't have the time to drone that out either. So for the most part, they're going in blind, and that'll usually lead to a shutdown like we saw just there from SSG yet again.
And you can already see the adjustments here, John, from FURIA. Just like you're talking about, not enough information for them to really have any influence over that top floor, and it's just SSG right from the jump taking it to FURIA, and they're not able to try and fight back. So they're going to make some adjustments here. The biggest one obviously being Lion, but Yana also being adjusted here for Highs. That's going to be his 3rd operator. Obviously already playing Flores. Ash for that last round, but we saw 0 impact from that. So instead he's going to bring the Gemini clone to see if he can possibly get some extra information to assist FURIA in these gunfights, because besides Highs as well as Fntzy, everyone else is lacking right now.
So FURIA still looking to adjust, still looking to make up for the deficits on previous rounds and find them some form of success here on the attacking side of Cafe. Should be noted, people who are newer to Siege, obviously these maps will have a bit of differential when it comes to how favored or unfavored it is for the defensive and attacking sides. This one tends to trend towards the defensive side, but not too much further beyond the advantage that SSG currently has here. If they start getting into the 4 or 5 round territory, things are going to look rough for FURIA moving on to the second half after the 6th round here. But let's take a look at what they're going to be focusing on for round 4 here first. They're bringing a lot of different flair here, a switch up from the Nomad to the Lion as well, so they have a more direct form of potential execute utility as well as mitigation for the constant movement that's going on in SSG's roam game.
Lots of options here for FURIA. See if these new pieces can possibly assist them in dealing with SSG's game plan so far. It's been going off without a hitch, and honestly, very, very beautiful. But either way, though, they'll be able to block some angles up top. We saw those reinforcements go down for red hallway, so they won't be able to abuse closet. It's going to make a pretty safe area for SSG to hold down the main hall down low, as well as play inside of the Whiskey area, which we've seen them prioritize on their Cafe prior, so we'll see how FURIA want to try and deal with this. Already starting things off early on here with the EE1Ds as Lenda begin breaking up the top floor. You might be like, well, SSG isn't really roaming, Stokes. Well, FURIA really doesn't know that, and you'd much rather have those angles to make sure no one's rotating through that area down low instead of just trying to take it head on. These vertical angles are really, really awesome when it comes down to it to try and find these initial picks.
With a minute gone from the round, things have remained very, very quiet once again here. SSG not around a whole lot of early round aggression here. The site being a little bit more difficult to try and predict the movements of FURIA as well. A little bit more of a rotate to get those SSG players safely back to the site. Primarily a horizontal setup as well from the SSG roster here as they're focusing on defending primarily that first floor. We can already see evidence of that in that FURIA has cleared out the second and third floors here before half the round is even gone. They are now fully focused, I believe, on trying to get those top-down angles opened up and begin the transition down, but it'll be a very tough process as we've seen with many teams on this map in the past.
This is where it becomes a game of cat and mouse for SSG. They obviously are aware that FURIA is continually breaking up the floor up top and trying to find a pick, as well as Fntzy more than likely trying to clear out as much utility as he's capable of, especially when it comes to these ADSs, as they're going to definitely have an influence when it comes to this entry game. Lenda, some shots into Fultz here, but Fultz actually going to end up surviving, continuing to play this shield that we saw him play prior with Hot and Cold in tow inside a bakery. And this is the issue. This is what happens when there's so many breaches inside of that top floor, and they continue to spin around. Rare as well as a multitude of different FURIA members managing different angles, and they finally found their mark.
Fultz trying to make a smart play there out for Bakery and trying to back up so that he can conserve the yokai utility until late in the round for a potential denial. He goes down now, and now the other parts of this horizontal defense are beginning to fall to pieces here. Rampy over by Kochek going to be eliminated. Hot and Cold can still work his way out from the same area and try to trade that, but he's got a tense situation. Doesn't know exactly where this other opponent is on the other side of the window here, and certainly not seeing that opponent try to move forward anytime soon here either. FURIA has the advantage. Time is starting to get a little bit low here, but still, FURIA wanting to make sure everything is secure before they commit themselves to the inside. Only now will we see them commit into the freezer drop, and SSG is not going to resist it. To let them walk right out, more than likely a plant attempt should go forward and pretty low. No, never mind, the case gets dropped there. Highs trades it, Miracle picks up the case, but now Thinkingnade drops another player. Miracle goes for the first real plant attempt. Can they deny it, or is it going to go down to the ground? There's the denial, and once again, the timer will end the round in the favor of SSG as they get it done from a 3v5.
one of the most clutch players the world. But John, what's the win rate when they get it?
Like 90%.
93%? What kind of a stat is that? That's incredible. And it looks like FURIA, after their tactical timeout's going to go away, they're going to go back to something they had a little bit earlier on that we didn't see too much from. It got a little bit of traction, but we'll see if it's a good adjustment here inside of round 5. The Blitz coming back in for Rare.
I like the potential out of bringing the Blitz back in here, but we need to see the aggression coming out from FURIA. There was a lesson that I was told by a Counter-Strike IGL years ago, and I feel that this applies to most esports. When you're the underdog in this sort of a matchup, which I think it would be safe to call FURIA the underdog here, you can't play scared. You can't allow your opponents to control the pace of the game, because rounds like we just saw there and the previous one, that's what's going to occur. They're going to have the confidence to make crazier plays against you. And if you don't have that same confidence to try and dictate the game state, they're just going to control every single situation, regardless of how much of a disadvantage they have.
And that brings up the perfect moment to remind you guys of what happened previously inside of this series, because this is not how it went at all. FURIA ended up going down 6-3, 5-2, somewhere along those lines, but they push it to overtime and win it, with Fntzy dropping 17 frags up against SSG. The exact style of play that John is talking about as well. You cannot play scared. You have got to play your style, and we need to see that from FURIA, even if it fails.
We're not saying get hyper-aggressive, start rushing in at the beginning of rounds.
Play your game.
Exactly. Play to your style. We've seen it in the past from FURIA. You could see it just in the Navi game they played over on Consulate a few days ago. But right now, for me at least, we're not seeing it inside of this matchup. So hopefully things change up both in this round and the final one coming up after this before they jump on the defense.
FultzSSG's ability to understand where the entries are going to be coming from, especially inside of this game right now, is just unparalleled. He's been able to read out a lot of where the initial droning and things are happening. He knew that FURIA was more than likely going to be active on this floor, so he's going to play Brown Stairs, which is a pretty safe option early on, and he's going to get a good read on the situation here. The cool thing as well is that they're going to be able to back this up with Bosco. This is something that you don't necessarily see on mid-floors, but what's really cool about Pulse is obviously the ability for that Nitro play in an early pick, but besides that is that cardiac sensor. He'll be able to assist his entire team when it comes to this info game and take out a lot of these FURIA members unbeknownst to them.
He's going to maintain a very safe position too, so he should be pretty free to scan essentially the whole building from, I believe he was over there on the inside of the dining room pulling that one off, trying to fend off some of the pressure towards the white garage and white stairs spot, as well as what we're seeing across the rest of the map here from FURIA. But once again, just like many of the rest of the rounds in this half here, it's a very slow rolling start from FURIA as they want to be extra careful so as not to make any early mistakes on their pushes here. Rare now finally inserted in through the red hatch. Not too concerned with the third floor. They bypassed that relatively quickly. And now Rare in position to try to push out into mining itself. But fortunately, that castle barricade going to be in the way. They'll need to take care of that first before anything else can happen.
Hot and cold, hell of a flick, but sadly onto a hologram. And the other thing about those holograms when it comes to Alibi is that when the Gemini hologram hops into it, High still gets marked, but it's not going to matter. Lenda's actually going to have the first frag here. Rare might have one of his own. It's going to be a flash out. The pistol can't get it done, but finally the ADS to clean it up. Hot and cold take it down, and FURIA with their first man advantage in a seriously solid spot here as they'll start to plant up. Fultz going to be able to get one from underneath the castle barricade, but it's not going to be enough. The MX4 Storm just not strong enough for the lamb damage, and actually the plant not going to be able to go down either. Fntzy backs off, but Bosco now the only remainder here for SSG. Obviously has that but not going to be too fun here as FURIA finally get one on the board.
Sends his body flying there at the end of the round. Needed to take care of. So this time when they execute, they know everything they need to know. And as we see, it goes off pretty much without a hitch there, save for that last player that causes a few issues for them.
I honestly think what the timeout was there for is that FURIA needed to centralize more around the blitz play, and it worked out a lot better for them. They're able to clear out mining and then engage inside of that engagement with Hot and Cold, and he really can't do anything about it. Even if he did have his Nitro cell there, Blitz most of the time is fast enough, especially with that flashbang on the front of his shield, to get away from it as well as blind you. So just a very unfortunate situation there for Hot and Cold that he simply could not get out of, and nobody there to assist. So FURIA going to get one on the board for their troubles, but that doesn't mean that SSG still can't end up at 5-1.
Great read on the setup there as well from FURIA, enabling their capability to enter and take care of Hot and Cold's position without risking a potential trade by realizing SSG had a fairly weak hold from that avenue, allowing for the majority of their execute to go off in that direction. SSG not going to be trying the mining site again, as they were drifting off from what we normally see them pick just a tad there. Going to head back into Library, which they've already been able to leverage leverage for themselves previously inside of this half here. Final round of the half as well, so let's see if they can solidify what's still going to be a very impressive advantage of 5-1, or if FURIA is truly back to play now, trying to make this 2-4.
Yeah, switching some things up here. It basically just feels like the Gundam, just reinforcing everything right now and getting prepared for this engagement with FURIA. That last round, obviously quite successful for them. SSG just not able to try and negotiate a pick, but we'll see what they can possibly do this time. Obviously, FURIA is still going to stick to this pick for Rare with the Blitz, and honestly, this has been the most successful Blitz play that we've seen throughout the tournament, at least for us personally. So we'll see if they're able to continue this, but SSG more than likely have something in the cards for this as well. We're not going to have any direct counters in the utility like Legion or something like that, but there's still plenty of utility across the board here to really give Rare a hard time.
Lenda with the rest of the primary team from FURIA already taking that quick roof control for themselves, just opening up the hatch work. Nothing really to remark home about, but start to see the drone, the real drone phase, I guess you could say, for FURIA begin to come up here as those players will now stand by on the roof and begin the clears as some of the other members of this team on the roof will hop onto the rappel, start looking for options to entry in through Cigar and a few other areas, and of course look for potential opening pick opportunities. They've already found it on this site defense in the past here as SSG has tried to roam just a tad too close to that window play. He's paid the price for it. Not looking like they're going to find anything this time, but at the same while, there's not a whole lot of massive resistance to the red drop, so Rare, as a supporting teammate, can once again move in here relatively quickly.
Here we go. Rare obviously going to be the front man for FURIA. See what he's able to achieve this time as he walks in towards Pixel. As for SSG, they're simply playing to their strengths, playing back towards Stack as well as Cocktail here. Don't want to give FURIA a pick early on. Bosco will go fishing though from the top of White. Has the FMG9 instead of the instead of the M590 here. Obviously still has that SMG11 as the secondary, but this is going to be very strong positioning for him with this smoke setup. He'll be able to delay time, especially around this Pixel area. This is going to make it difficult for FURIA. They want to be able to get top control here and start abusing these vertical angles like they did in the past, but Rare just has no option to try and push forward here. I still think he ended up getting tagged up from one of his teammates from behind, but they simply don't have any answers.
Attackers recovered.
Now is FURIA struggling again to get that first opening pick. We've seen this already just in the last round, how much FURIA was still able to make happen when they finally committed themselves to their execute. Utility starting to come out. That covers the white stairs with the smoke here. Rare's going to be able to push forward. Won't find anything on the inside of Cocktail, and it's a good thing his opponent doesn't catch him here. Bosco sitting around the corner still in a very powerful position. Now catching the blitz and getting the headshot. Followed up by a nice one to Fntzy. What a crazy play from Bosco. And he's got more coming around the corner here. Another battle looming in Cocktail, but he finally backs away from it. The work's been done. The case has been dropped. They've got the 5v3 advantage. They don't even need to be here anymore. It's back downstairs to wait out the last 30 seconds.
He guns Rare, he uppercuts Fntzy, and now FURIA put right on their behind. Thinkingnade gonna push it even further, taking down Lenda. It's a 5 versus 2, and this is just an SSG half in general, but this specifically is going to be an SSG round after Hotancold takes down one of his own. It's only up to Highs, more than likely just going to play out the timer, so they get a little bit more time to conversate in between rounds. But FURIA, very lackluster offensive half here to start us off. We're gonna have to see them try and fix it on their defensive half. It's a flawless round here for SSG. John, how are you feeling about it?
I mean, flawless is putting it lightly, to be honest with you. That was immaculate from SSG right there.
Yeah, that was gross. Especially from Bosco.
Here we go
like,
again
oh,
with it.
look at that. Just right in the jaw. Oh, incredible.
We even had to put that on the big monitor the players can see as well, man. Production's being mean to FURIA here.
Oh, poor guy. Poor guy. But now we need to have an answer here for FURIA. They are in the hole, to say the least. They're going to be starting off on the mid floor, and with them playing the defensive side of Cafe now, this is going to allow them to control that pacing just a little bit more. We saw this from SSG throughout their defensive half. There was a lot of times where they wanted to go for these early picks, but they also wanted to force FURIA back inside of that utility game as well. A perfect example of that would obviously be that last round with Bosco, but obviously you guys probably are more focused on what that 2K was than the smoke utility down in White, but we still have to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just the freedom that SSG has seemingly consistently had to make these aggressive plays, and that's despite multiple attempts from FURIA to change up the strategy, whether it's through operator picks or just outright a different attacking strategy overall to counter that. And for the most part, it didn't really work, save for the one round going down to attack the first floor, where they finally found some success for themselves. And actually, no, even there, SSG was able to retake it. So what am I talking about? It's been a rough one, unfortunately, here for FURIA. So we have to hope that this defensive side is going to be a little bit better, but I personally don't have the highest hopes right now.
Yeah, and you guys know if Blue is searching for something to say about a team, it has not been very good. So FURIA definitely on the crap list right now, to say the least, but obviously they have a lot of rounds going forward to try and fix this, and it all starts now. Miracle looking for the spawn kill, but they're ready for it. He's going to miss that head just by a pixel, as SSG will get away. But now we're getting a better understanding of what this SSG offense is looking like, and I'm already loving what I'm seeing inside of this operator lineup, especially with Hot and Cold on the buck. This is a sign that we could possibly see a cocktail offense.
Miracle with a smart choice there just to back away, and look at this team, man, moving up, coordinated as heck. They're even changing their rappel position at the exact same time. I mean, you can make a commercial for this game out of what we just saw right there. But anyway, SSG just moving through the usual opening motions here, nothing too special if we're being honest about it, and now beginning to drone out that red hatch, similarly as we were seeing from FURIA in the last half here, to get them that red drop access, and more than likely by extension, the cigar room, and following more and more of the third floor.
Well, it's multi-floored hold here for FURIA. Rare will be downstairs. He's got at least one reinforcement to counter out the angle here from Trophy, so he'll be able to play around this. Has that Nitro Cell to counter out anything that happens upstairs as well. I don't believe he's going to have access to the angle to actually blow up Ticket if he wants to, but I can't remember it currently off the top of my head. I will be honest with you guys, but either way, that Nitro Cell is going to come in quite handy, but not until Fultz just surges right on into Train and shoots Rare right in the top of his head.
Looking for a second opportunity, and he's given it there for a second, but realizes it's missed. Goes back behind the safety of the reinforcement on that wall right there. Seems like the player on FURIA doesn't want to reattempt things either. I believe it was a Miracle. Could have been Lenda too, as those SS operators' silhouettes are pretty dang identical. We're going to see Fntzy, though, still maintaining a position up here on the third floor for FURIA, which could cause some problems for SSG going into a late round scenario here, but SSG doesn't seem to be too concerned about it. You can see they have flank overwatch with their Hibana, keeping an eye on that Thinkingnade, making sure nothing goes awry there. And Fultz, now that that player has fired some shots out, looking like they are going to go for the direct confrontation instead and try to knock Fntzy out. The nade should be taking care of the deployable shield, but as you can see, he's got a second fallback just by the white stairs position also.
SSG are doing such a bang-up job of managing these angles. You can see FURIA really wants to stick around and see if anyone's going to step out with utility in their hand or something like that, and possibly find a pick like onto Rampy here, but he's not going to have as much influence anymore. Obviously that Sledgehammer very useful, but with Hot and Cold here, obviously assist in that. So obviously that cocktail offense not going to work out either. For some reason I thought they were top floor, but either way, in that mid area, so Hot and Cold still going to be able to abuse that skeleton key either way, but he's crouch walking right now. One of the things that everyone loves to see or hates to see, it just depends what kind of a fan you are, but can he get it done? No. Fntzy crouches right underneath the bullets as he'll be able to hold on to this top floor for the entirety of round 7. But Thinkingnade and SSG have other plans. What are they going to try and assault from? Well, can't be the top floor anymore as they all get taken down. Fultz with very minimal time in no case has to try and get something done here. It's a frag grenade out, he'll see one, but not enough damage done. Only 5 seconds remaining, and there's really no way that he's going to win this out. He gets the initial kill, but doesn't have the actual case. It'll be a triple for him, another kill for Fntzy, and a round for FURIA.
Yeah, Fntzy is the MVP of this round by far for FURIA. It's only when SSG notices him that all of a sudden their entire attacking strategy is derailed. They'd been making great progress on taking control of mining and trying to push in from that avenue for the first minute and a half of the round, but suddenly they realize Fntzy is blocking their way from on top of the cigar. They don't want to leave that undealt with, so they try to switch things up. The problem is I feel like that spaces their attack out far too much, though, and there just isn't enough of an individual push that is successfully going off anywhere on the map to allow them to get the control they need to try and turn that round back into their favor.
Yeah, to handle that setup that FURIA has upstairs, because if you guys have noticed, they have a deployable shield pixel, one on stacks, and then there's one inside of Cocktail. So what that is for Fntzy is it's just he backs up to the next bastion every single time, and he's going to continue to play around these shields. This is something that we see TSM do with Bolo a lot, with at least just deployable shield play, because he's just so mechanically gifted that he's just a very hard target to hit in general. He only needs about 3 bullets to kill you in the first place, so if he's able to quick peek around something constantly, he's going to give you a hard time. This is what FURIA's game plan was overall for that top floor, and it worked with flying colors as Fntzy ends up taking the lead here inside of the frag department.
So much better stance put up overall there by FURIA, but it should be noted SSG still have that absolutely brutal opening kill win percentage to be accounted for there, and they still able to leverage that, but unlike what their stats tend to show, ended up dropping that round here. So maybe some hope as of yet for FURIA. Would be an impressive rebound to say the least, but we did see one happen just last night with Damwon Gaming doing it against NIP. So we'll see if FURIA can give us a show as well here versus SSG.
SSG about to be out and onto the field. One big adjustment coming in here for them as well, as Dokkaebi will be added for Rare, or excuse me, for Rampy. But either way though, FURIA be holding on to the top floor now. Lenda trying to get very forward with his aggression. We saw this the last time, but ended up not working out for FURIA. Not able to click the head of SSG, but still able to get the round nevertheless. As for this overarching strategy, though, it's quite solid, and what we're going to see the typical clear here for SSG, as with Cafe, you're kind of forced into it. There's no real way to just rush in and get stuff done. We've seen it a handful of times, but it's not something you're going to see. It's obviously a rare case.
So Hotancold just doing his job there to quickly open up the hatches. Once again, that same buildup that we see at the beginning of most of these rounds here for SSG as they quickly try to take care of the opening checklist here to make sure that mostly FURIA can't get aggressive against them, but at the same time they take up positions to punish that should the need arise. That'll be a nice bang if it hits. A little bit off base there for Lenda. He catches it just at the perfect time to avoid his own death. Great angle work there from SSG, though. Nearly got a winner for themselves. And what a shot that would have been on the bank for the nade right there.
Also, speaking of shots,
making up for it nice and quick as he gets a pixel peek against Rare, able to take him down and restore the early advantage once again for SSG.
Listen, guys, if there's one thing you have to trust me on, just use the ARX over the G36C. The gun is so incredible as Hotancold pushes even further for SSG here, taking down Fntzy. The top frag now gone for FURIA, and options dwindling.
Also the biggest obstacle by far that SSG had to deal with in the previous round. A huge part usually of the FURIA time-wasting strategy. So now that's gone, and it's less than halfway through the round that player has been eliminated here. SSG already moving in, establishing presence in from the reading room here. Could establish a bottom-to-top angle actually against the one that's holding upstairs on the inside of Cocktail Hill. We'll see if that'll be possible. The drone already finding Lenda out, and he quickly loses more and more ground to actually fight from. He'll go up on top of one of the Cocktail desks here to try and see if he can survive the angle and fire back, but at the same time, more pressure still coming in as Lenda falters to Hotancold from down below. Highs, the only one that's going to be able to trade anything out so far here from FURIA as he takes down Rampy. Miracle also still in this as well, though, holding a top stairs position, and more importantly, trying to delay the push here with the Toxic Babes.
Rampy getting taken down, but it's the upside down repel for Thinkingnade to eliminate Miracle. All of a sudden, it's up to Highs. Kind of a poor position in Christmas, but still has the capability to get something done here. But Fultz surges forward through Whitehall and will find him from the deployable shield. Very nicely done here from SSG, but Fultz really making some magic happen on that mid floor there. And again, I will reference this. That ARX is such a powerful rifle when it comes down to it. The G36C nowadays is no slouch, a headshot machine when it comes down to it, but the body damage that you get with the ARX, you just can't hold a candle to it.
Only real negative of that gun is going to be like ammo capacity.
That's literally
for sure,
it.
But
that's literally it.
most pros by far will know how to deal with that at this point, so it's very easy to work around for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, when you're shooting that straight where you only need like, 4 or 5 bullets, ammo all of a sudden doesn't really become that big of an issue. The thing is that ammo is obviously an advantage. That's why we've been talking so much about Zofia LMG this event.
That is very, very true, and I think it's part of the reason why we're going to see those ammo changes coming in, like they were talking about during the reveal there as well. So I think a lot of that getting standardized now. So we'll see how that potentially changes up some of the play potential for those guns when that is going to be implemented. But we're getting into this next round here for FURIA. We'll see, as they're now going to be going up against the match point disadvantage here for SSG. It's 4 rounds in a row that FURIA now need to leverage for themselves. We'll see if they can get the first one here on the first floor.
Well, FURIA's offenses on this specific bomb site were very, very poor, but SSG could obviously change that up. We're not going to see any big changes for SSG here. Rampy will obviously be the one continually calling the audibles for his operator, as he will now have the Maverick, and that could assist him a lot of different ways. Also, Rampy not having a great day today either, 1-6-2, and he has not been happy with his own performance throughout this LAN so far.
So we will see now. He's going to be able to continue to improve upon that. Like we said, definitely not the most relevant performance inside of this specific matchup, but thankfully some of the other players, we can see her hot and continuing to do a fantastic job from the leadership position, excuse me. Fultz as well, really fragging out inside of this matchup at 11-4 right now. Continue to see him excel on the Ashes. SSG are beginning to put the pressure very quickly on the FURIA. They're going to bypass the second and third floor clear, it looks like, and go directly into Small and Big Bakery and try and take that control away from FURIA. FURIA realizes this. They send their co-check player upstairs now to try and establish a top-down angle.
They're going to need some semblance of assistance here, especially for High's sake. You can see they already ended up popping over the top of that reinforcement. All of the nades coming in, and he has to vacate the premises. Otherwise, he's more than likely going to lose his life. But it's actually Hotancold to lose out first. Rare take him down. Miracle trying to get aggressive with the M5 M590 and it works. Call it twice. Can he get the triple as well? SMG 11 in hand now, will switch things up. And oh man, he burns Thinkingnade alive. It's 5-1 in favor of FURIA.
FURIA surely having this round secured at this point, but Bosco going to still make the best attempt he can. It's a rush play from SSG, so as far as time is concerned, Bosco has an infinite amount of it to try and play this one out. He'll take it very cautiously, sitting behind the SWAT van, trying to take these fights versus Miracles, bullet by bullet. Unfortunately, he realizes that he's just trying to waste time at this point, so we'll start to back away. Throws the air jab down to act as a little bit of free info, should the push come outside from that direction. Focus a little bit more on this unlocked kitchen angle. See if he can find someone from Small Bakery as well. He already supposed to retrieve the case too. Good pre-fire coming in here, but once again cannot land the shot. The timing is there, the aim is not, unfortunately, but Fntzy finds it instead as FURIA get their own flawless round.
Well, SMG 11 M590 combo, folks. There it is once again. That M590 just so potent inside of these close engagements. Here it is again for you. As Miracle is able to get that triple. M590 for 2, SMG 11 for 1, and a pretty happy smoke at the end of the day, almost equalizing out that KD spread, but just happy to get that round and get the ball rolling here for FURIA.
So, FURIA seemingly in control, at least in part here of the defense. That comeback still going to be a true possibility here, but having to extend away. And keep in mind as well, SSG, a bit of a misfire there on the strategy. They will quickly correct that, go back to the more slower, measured play that we've been seeing out of them on the couple rounds we've played out already on this attacking side, and of course what we were seeing on the defense here too. A couple 6 picks in the mix here though for both of these teams, as Valkyrie is going to be brought in for FURIA, and the Sledge, not too much of a crazy one there, going to be brought in for the folks on SSG.
Okay, so we'll see what SSG can get done this round. Obviously, more than likely feeling like that last round is a fluke, but we'll have to see what they want to do, and obviously not the caster either. We do love her, but either way. SSG will be out and about on the field soon. I think that obviously the Sledge is going to have some influence over this round. They have so much soft destruction here in the likes of Hotan as well as Rampy, so either one of them can achieve what they need to on this top floor. We just need to see them be solid on this entry game. That's the biggest thing when it comes to these offenses. These last 2 rounds, or specifically this last round, FURIA was really able to set pace, and SSG just could not combat back. They were not prepared for any pressure to be coming through prep, and simply no eyes on leads to their demise.
So we shall see if SSG can close things out here finally for themselves, or if FURIA can continue to run it back from this defensive half here. Certainly has been putting up a fight against the rest of the teams in this group, SSG included in a previous matchup as well as Na'Vi, but once again, coming down to the end of the wire as far as this group is concerned. Need to try and claim as many points as possible, and SSG really wanting to control the situation are looking good to do so with one more round. Only needed to go into their pocket. Aside from that, though, there's a lot going to be going on here once again inside of that first minute or 2 minutes of the round. Just continuing to see the opening build-up of positioning from SSG as they try to take initial map control once again towards Red Drop.
As is tradition, it all starts with the red stairs and some drones in as they'll bust up Ticket. But this time around, Fntzy around the space, hologram in. Fntzy will be able to take that down, but that's information for SSG as well, so he'll start to back off, but not too far as we would expect out of Fntzy. Instead, he'll play the angle for Pixel instead. Just wants to see if he can possibly get anybody to rotate through Ticket, but SSG are going to keep this drone information continual. So Fntzy will have to respect it and try and back off just a touch, but the cross is now starting to be established here for SSG as they begin working this top floor. Still plenty of time to achieve a lot of these jobs.
See SSG once again, that slow broil here. Looking to make sure they don't overstep. FURIA has been tricky to deal with, specifically here on the 3rd floor. So that can explain in part some of the hesitance we're seeing from SSG to try to just rush through and steal the rest of this map control away. Keep in mind, obviously, we're not attacking the 3rd floor itself. We're still focusing on a 2nd floor defense, I do believe, here from the FURIA roster. So with that said, the cocktail hold from Lenda was in position to fight, as you can see, even a deployable shield there to support it a bit, but it's going to be peeled back very quickly before he even sees a member of SSG. And that will give them all this free control here as soon as they realize that they actually have it.
Well, you really got to feel bad for whoever thinks that barbed wire is going to be free inside of Cocktail, because it surely isn't. Reinforced with a nitro cell from underneath, more than likely means that an SSG member will die, but we'll have to see what goes on here. Minute left here as Hotancold will begin to clear out Cocktail. Does he get blown up from this barbed wire as he clears it, or is it going to be the Yana who's going to make the fatal mistake here? You can see there's some holes here as well, so they might be able to hear from underneath. This is just, it's just a little scary to be honest with you.
I think they have an idea. They're avoiding it, so they definitely seem to be aware of the fact that nitro cells been pre-placed. face there, and there it goes. It goes off. So FURIA trying to make things happen does not pan out. Instead, it's going to be SSG getting the opening kill for themselves. Lenda, once again, will be the first to fall on the inside of this round. A great nade, too. Not actually going to kill either of the players it was thrown towards. And in fact, Miracle able to get aggressive after taking the damage from that nade and knock out FultzSSG here. Rare with the top that angle, but he's also getting some hits here from the sledge. But a turnaround from Rare as he takes out Hotancold while still taking fire from up on top. As Rampy finally gets the trade, we're very low on time, but the good news is Thinkingnade is already halfway through to the plant. However, needs to get him without getting interrupted here. Here comes the eruption itself. It's going to get down on the ground, but Thinkingade's the only one left here. He gets taken out by Highs as well. What a fast retake from FURIA to stay alive yet again and get the 4th round on the board.
They don't even need fantasy. What they need is a miracle, and that's what they got. It's a quick rush upstairs with Mute as he takes down multitude of the SSG offense, especially that top shot. And look at this beautiful frag from Rare as well, but really Miracle making the most happen here. That push up White, he takes down Rampy, who's seemingly unaware of this situation at all and gets caught off guard.
Great quick thinking there for Miracle as well to catch the fact that, guys, there's no way we're going to be able to reinsert ourselves in a library. That's way too rough of a retake angle. They're going to be set up to counter that, and they were right to assume so. You could see the position from SSG when Miracle got himself up on top there. Only one player, only managing that top-down angle as well to watch for additional pushes. They weren't expecting someone to run back up the staircases, try to retake that top-down position, and as a result of that, SSG's entire post-plant setup falls apart just after we see the Ks go down onto the ground. Beautiful stuff from FURIA, very worthy of yet another round, so let's see if they can keep it going all the way to OT.
SSG noticing the info game as well, really working out in favor for FURIA here, as well as the multitude of pre-placed nitro cells, so probably want somebody that could see forward here, give them some insight as to what the situation is on a couple of these floors, and try and clear out some of this info game as well, and that's why FultzSSG is going to switch on over to the IQ. We're going to have Rampy change this up as well, though, as he'll be bringing the Yana just for that extra info game as well. They don't want FURIA to go unchecked here, especially with how these rounds have been going. FURIA starting to become a little fireball, and this could become an inferno soon.
See if they can take it all the way to the top here. Starting to get a little more aggressive with the composition here too. Much more roaming-friendly operators being brought into the fold here for FURIA to maybe extend themselves out a bit more, trying to get in the faces of SSG now that they're finding themselves winning these rounds quite often. The thing is, though, not really winning it, in my opinion, due to the bouts of aggression we've seen. That only really applies the first round they picked up due to the great extended position over at the end of Whitehall from Fntzy and Pixel. Since then, it's been a very conserved hold for them. These last-minute spur-of-the-moment plays that have been allowing them to save their own lives and keep their tournament lives going here as well, continuing to pick up rounds versus SSG.
Spacestation Gaming will be getting to the roof here. Hotancold will pop open the hatches here. As well as Thinkingnade getting in to assist with the walls. And pretty solid game from SSG thus far, but specifically from FultzSSG. We talked about him a little bit earlier and how he's such a solid LAN player. One of the best inside of North America, and he's showing it here once again. This has been a whole tourney thing. He's currently 11-6-0.
Aside from his own performance, though, still seeing some of the other members of SSG, most notably Rampy, struggling just a tad here. He has picked up a couple kills since we last remarked on it, but faltering behind here. An increase to his performance would probably be just what SSG need to push them over the edge, but hopefully FultzSSG and the rest of the crew still going to be able to get this job done, as they still have 2 more opportunities, including this one, to try and win it out. This is a lot of aggression going right to the face of Miracle, seemingly ready for it, but no, can only go 1 for 1. However, the rest of Rare and FURIA quickly responding. Lenda and Rare picking up kills. SSG falling apart at the seams. They try yet another aggressive play, and for the most part, it fails. They're down to a 2v4. They have been able to cause a slight pause at the minimum here, but the problem is Thinkingnade is committed. He does not have a safe way to fall back here. Bosco can't leave him hanging dry. He needs to support him in some capacity. They need to commit themselves further to the site now.
SSG has to win out these frags. It's the biggest issue now with stun out, but I believe that they know that Highs is close as well, but it's not him until the last moment. Simply waiting for his time to strike with the rest of FURIA as they bring it within.
Will try to pick up that final point needed to get them into overtime here. SSG not going to be changing up the strategy too much as we look at the operator lineup here, because we're getting a lot of the same flair to the table here.
Just that LATAM and APAC energy that's got you in a tizzy over the last couple days.
It's the morning too, man. It's always the first cast is rough.
Oh, of course. But like the biggest thing is that I just feel like I've gotten so much energy from these teams, as well as Ace and Dez with their support of the APAC region from yesterday. And honestly, I feel like we might be a good luck charm. I'm not going to try and jinx it. I'll knock on some wood real quick. But for these teams, every single time we end up casting them, they always go to overtime. So we'll see what happens in this round. I could have jinxed it. LATAM, please don't, I'm not going to give you any ideas.
you just called yourself a good luck charm. So if there was ever a jinx, that was it.
Hey, listen. But
that's a bit bold to call yourself a good luck charm.
No, I said we could be. That's what I said. I'm not sure about it.
Well,
10 seconds remaining.
It's a possibility, John.
I think most would disagree, but
I
we'll
would
leave it
as
up to
well.
that.
I'm a very unlucky individual.
As we move forward into the final round of regulation, this is it. All the build-up, all of the lead that was built up for SSG, as well as the fact that they pretty much immediately after the first round of this second half here claimed their match point. They have been unable to leverage it since then. Now, FURIA going to try to get hyper-aggressive here. Rare going for the balcony run out, quickly realizes his mistake, though, and falls back to a deeper position inside of the building.
It's quite lucky there is. It seemed like Fultz was ready with that ARX to decapitate him at any moment, but he'll end up be able to scurry back inside, maintain his life. FURIA, it's a positive thing as well as throughout the entirety of this defensive half, as we've been talking about, they've been so strong inside of these opening engagements, really giving SSG a hard time and just making it practically impossible to get these executes to go off like they want to. We've seen a couple of plant attempts, but nothing really to call home about when it comes down to SSG, except for that last round that obviously went extremely sideways on the retake from FURIA.
SSG a much more careful attempt this time. They're going to be taking their time out to try and make the X-Kairos open up a clearer path from the small bakery into the big bakery in case there's an extended position from FURIA that they're going to try to play out into yet again. Rare as well. Unfortunately, not going to be able to see a whole lot here. An early smoke utilized by SSG covering things off and unfortunately making it seem as though FURIA needs to shift out of that position, but they realize now that the smoke has faded away. It's not going to be so much the case. The smoke actually mainly blocking off the X-Kairos that they can't be so easily shot out, and so that the hole there that SSG needed could be deployed. Miracle, though, creates a bit of a two-way window here, so he can also fire back into small the moment SSG hop in.
This is a very calculated SSG right now. Able to at least get Fultz inside of lobby. He'll be holding on to this. No one playing coat check here for FURIA either, so he'll have full run over this area, minus Whiskey, which is currently being occupied by the Mozzie of Rare. So FURIA doing a very good job of maintaining pace. They're not trying to overextend themselves and give up too much early on here. SSG is still trying to find some answers, as, well, the game really hasn't worked out too well for them just yet, and also still a hold going on for FURIA on the mid floor. This is a very slow-moving SSG, but as we're starting to get a better picture, this is starting to look like a bakery offense.
SSG ready to deploy here, starting to open up the last bits of the utility they need. It's Rampy going to be trying to deploy the nades deeper to the inside. We're also going to start seeing those micro mollies go off deeper to the inside of the site to try and push back the position, but it's not working out. Highs has taken the largest amount of damage from those, nearly actually losing his life to it as he was caught on camera, but still, first kill going to go to FURIA once again as Fntzy is able to take down Fultz. Enough positioning for SSG though to still sneak into the site, start putting the planter down onto the ground, and it's great support coming in from his teammates. That support will succeed here as well, as Rampy's going to be able to get another kill just as the plant goes down onto the ground with the elimination of Highs to trade this back into a 4v4. Rare though, coming back down through the red stairs, starting to put additional pressure on SSG, and he's not going to be alone. Lenda also grouping up with them to start crunching on the SSG post plant. Will it be enough though as we go down into a 3 versus 3? Great air jab positioning as SSG are tearing it apart. Lenda's the last hope now, needs to push back in, but another swing from Rampy will solidify the match for SSG instead as they take it at the very bitter end of regulation, 7-5.
All we needed to see was the final form of Rampy. It takes a triple kill from him, but SSG get it done, and he has to really, really feel good about that one, especially from what we were talking about earlier. He's not been happy with his performance.